Welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Comansing. The Inspector General released an audit September 15th on the Department of Agriculture. The report covered the period for fiscal years 2009 and 10 and found that the department managed their land leasing and land clearing programs poorly. NEWS2's Erica Parsons has more.
The Department of Agriculture has to answer for the management of their land leasing and land preparation programs. A recent audit from the Office of the Inspector General found that the department mismanaged the programs in some cases and violated the law in others. The audit covers the period for fiscal years 2009 and 10, and copies were sent to the governor and the Senate president, as well as the department. Specifically, the IG said agriculture administered the programs without adequate formal policies and procedures, improperly executed land lease agreements, did not properly monitor the programs to ensure that recipients were using the land as it should be used, did not work effectively with other government departments to administer and enforce provisions of the VI Code. They were slow and inconsistent in billing for services, ineffective when it came to collecting delinquent accounts, and they didn't maintain organized files and readily accessible program files. The Inspector General's office made 9 recommendations to the Department of Agriculture that Commissioner Lewis Peterson has already acknowledged and started implementing. Commissioner Peterson, in his response to the IG, agreed with all the recommendations made. Those recommendations include developing formal internal policies and procedures to help monitor the land programs, following the VI's procurement laws when it comes to executing contracts and lease agreements, having the appropriate staff monitor the subsidized cleared lands to ensure compliance, as well as having appropriate staff conduct routine monitoring of leased public lands, collaboration of other departments to help enforce the code, and making sure the department's billing and collection processes are timely. They also need to keep organized files and records and have the farmers submit their annual harvest and production reports. The IG's office says the commissioner's response in the report is good enough for them to consider the 9 issues resolved. Erica Parsons, News 2.
All audits done by the Inspector General's office are available for viewing on their website at www.viig.org. Well, September 24th is National Voter Registration Day, and to mark the occasion, the Board of Elections will be holding registration across the territory. The voter drives will take place from 10 to 2 on St. Thomas. Registration will be at the West parking lot by the Elections Office. On St. John, registration will be held at the Elections Office, and on St. Croix, registration will be at the Department of Human Services Office, both in Frederiksted and Christiansted. A U.S. birth certificate, U.S. passport, or naturalization certificate is required to register. There is a possibility that the federal government may reduce advance payment on rum excise taxes by almost $71 million unless Congress acts to extend the current rate, which expires on December 31st. News2's Shanika Robinson has details.
The annual Internal Revenue Matching Fund advance payment of excise taxes collected on the Virgin Islands rum imported into the United States might be less than requested by the Virgin Islands government.
The government requested the advance payment from the federal government of $263.9 million based on the estimated rum production from those 2 companies and calculated the payment at the existing cover-over rate, which is $13.25 per approved gallon.
Interior took note of the fact that the current rate expires on December 31st, at which time it will revert to $10.50 per proof gallon unless Congress acts to extend it. As a result, Interior has calculated the advance payment based on the $13.25 rate until December and at the lower $10.25 rate for the remainder of the fiscal year from January to September 2014. The change in calculation has reduced the payment to $193.1 million, which is $70.8 million less than the government requested. The potential impact on the Virgin Islands economy if Congress does not extend to the original $13.25 may be detrimental.
The impact is going to be a reduction in resources available to the general fund of about $21 million. And the loss of revenue would have to be made up through a combination of reductions in spending, increases in other revenue, both of which will have a negative impact on the budget.
Over the past years, Congress have been able to extend the rate, and Mr. Greer is hopeful that this year they will be able to do the same.
It's important to note, again, for the past 30 years, Congress has ultimately passed the extender legislation. It's certainly too soon to suggest that the extender legislation will not ultimately be passed this time, and that's the reason for the optimism that we hold today.
Shaniqua Robinson, News 2.
Be sure to count on 2 to keep you updated. Virgin Islands Office of Veterans Affairs Director Harry Daniel advised today that all individuals and organizations that assist veterans in receiving their benefits to attend upcoming workshops being offered in the territory by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. The workshops on St. Thomas and St. Croix will educate and inform stakeholders and providers about the importance of the fully developed claims program, which allows veterans' benefits to be processed in about half the time of traditional claims. These training sessions will empower Virgin Islanders who assist and care for territory's heroes by making sure they know about an expedited and efficient path to claiming benefits, according to Harry Daniel. The St. Thomas workshop will be held Monday from 10 a.m. to noon at the American Legion Hall. The St. Croix workshop will take place Tuesday from 10 a.m. to noon at American Legion Hall, post number 84. Police on St. Croix are investigating a carjacking incident that occurred on September 18th in the Sunny Isles Shopping Center. A male victim told police that he and his wife were parked near Payless Shoes when 2 Hispanic males approached the vehicle and demanded the car keys. The men then forcibly removed the victim from the car while the victim told his wife to run.
The suspects discharged at least 2 shots, however, no one was injured. The victim said the suspects drove away in his vehicle, a blue 2004 Toyota Corolla, license number CEJ699. The victims described the suspects as both wearing white t-shirts and caps on their head. They could not give any further description of the suspect. Police issued an all-points bulletin on the vehicle and are still searching for it.
In an effort to provide high school students with clearer paths to healthy professions, the Rotary E-Club of the Virgin Islands and Caribbean teamed up with VI scholars to launch the Envision Your Life Conference. Students from both CAHS and Ivana Eudorican High School heard from a list of great leaders, including Professor Michael Tubbs, a Truman Scholar, and one of the youngest elected officials in the United States, Commissioner Albert Bryan Jr. and VI scholars, Director Rotarian Lincoln Liebert, a native son of the Virgin Islands. Now, following the conference, the students were encouraged to enroll in the Envision Your Life Conference's year-round mentoring program that connects students to Rotarians and VI professionals who will provide opportunities for the students. Parts of the federal government could be shut down in 10 days, and that's if Congress can't pass a budget agreeable to both parties. The House passed their version of the budget, but the democratically controlled Senate says it will be dead on arrival, and that's because it would also take funding away from President Obama's health care law. Danielle Nottingham has more from Capitol Hill.
Minute vote.
The House Republican legislation that funds the government and defunds the president's health care law passed along party lines.
The joint resolution is passed.
House Democrats condemned the resolution.
This place is a mess. Let's get our house in order.
We know what the government can do. This bill doesn't allow the government to do what it can.
House Speaker John Boehner says the resolution is not designed to shut the government down and said it's up to the Senate to keep the government running.
The American people don't want the government shut down, and they don't want Obamacare.
Mike Bray owns a hobby shop in Maryland. He's not happy with some aspects of the president's health care law, but says a government shutdown would be worse.
We had this conversation last year. Last year it was about the budget cuts and sequestration. We spent the entire fourth quarter scaring the heck out of my customers, and it worked.
Speaking to auto workers in Missouri, President Obama said once again he would not sign any bill that takes funding away from his health care law.
And they're saying, we're going to hold our breath, and if you don't repeal it, which I've already said I'm not going to do, we're going to send the economy into default.
The Senate is expected to vote on its own version of a budget bill early next week. Danielle Nottingham, News 2.
And keeping our eye on the economy, Apple is hoping for big profits as it launched 2 new iPhones, the first time the company has offered 2 new models on the same day. Another first. Apple is making the new models available in mainland China on the same day as other Asian countries. The 5S offers a fingerprint scanner, and the 5C is a lower cost version available in 5 colors. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. Everything down. The Dow 185, NASDAQ 14, S&P 12. Coming up on News 2, we have much more. Stick around. We'll be right back. The Department of Agriculture is asking the St. Croix community to help them celebrate National Honey Month, and they'll be hosting their 3rd annual Beekeepers Bazaar this Saturday from 10 to 4. The public is invited to the Sunshine Mall parking lot, where they'll be able to find a wide variety of products such as honey and honey-based products. There'll also be lotions, lip balms, candies, candles, beeswax, bee pollen, and soaps. There will also be educational presentations and question and answer station for children and prizes. This weekend, you might spot a group of people at the beach cleaning up debris and recording what they find. It's all part of Coast Week's cleanup, and it's an international beach cleanup initiative that combines thousands of volunteers worldwide. Coast Week started about 25 years ago, and now about 400,000 volunteers are involved in about more than 100 countries. The cleanups are scheduled on St. Croix at Southgate Coastal Reserve at 8 a.m., Frederiksted Pier, Dorsch Beach, and Columbus Landing, all starting at 9 a.m. Then on St. Thomas, it's at Brewers Bay and Perseverance Bay at 9 a.m. Well, it's time for our pet of the week, and this week we have two. Crystal and Raquel are 10-pound island mix puppies. They are 2 months old, very playful and fun-loving puppies, and they're looking for a home. If you're interested, give the Humane Society a call. They also need foster homes for their shelter animals, and this is something you can do if you're not sure yet about adopting.
Today we have Raquel in black and we have Crystal in brown. They are about 2 to 3 months old. They are litter mates. They're at the Humane Society right now, up for adoption. They are adorable. They run around like crazy. They love riding in the car. And since they are litter mates, they turn their heads and look at the same time, doing the exact same motions. So if you want a puppy or two, come on down and check them out. We could really use some help. And if you need any help spay or neutering your pets, please let us know. We'll be happy to help you out. Thank you.
They are cute. Now, into your health, some interesting news about dogs. Dogs are playing an increasing role in detecting one of the world's deadliest diseases. A British researcher says her cancer-sniffing canine saved her life. CBS's Alfonso Van Marsh reports from Berkshire, England.
Claire Guest was letting her dogs out when Daisy started jumping and bumping her head on Claire's chest.
Daisy drew my attention to a lump, slightly painful lump, almost like a bruised feeling.
Claire says she had the lump checked out and tests showed breast cancer.
Without any question, I would not be as well and even perhaps alive today had Daisy not drawn my attention to it.
Claire runs a charity that trains dogs to sniff out cancer. The animals are taught to identify urine samples from bladder cancer patients. Trainer Robert Harris says cancer cells give off a specific smell that dogs can identify.
Dogs have a fantastic sense of smell, up to 100,000 times better than a human.
Scientists are now trying to develop technology that can sniff out cancer just like these dogs can.
There's more and more work going on in electronic noses, trying to develop devices that can pick up these smelly molecules. And maybe dogs could actually help inform the development of those devices.
Scientists say a canine's sense of smell is so refined that dogs may one day be able to decipher between different types of cancer. Until then, Claire says she'll keep training her dogs to help prove man's best friend can save lives. Alfonso Van Marsh, CBS News, Berkshire, England.
Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.